Welcome to Tanya Outside In, Perek Daled, which is a lovely perek. And I love the whole Sefer Tanya, but there are certain parts that glow brighter than others for me, and this is one of those procs. So just very, very quickly, Perek 1, Perek Aleph, we introduced the Nefesh Bahamis, which is our lower self, so to speak, which is motivated by a fear of death, which translates as a survival instinct, which, if you go a little bit deeper, is actually longing for pleasure. Okay, that's at the deepest level, because really life and pleasure are synonymous with each other. Life is pleasure, pleasure is life, or should I say, pleasure is life is the ultimate pleasure. So the animal soul is really looking, the most simple way of understanding it is that your lower self is constantly looking to survive. What does that look like when you've got your everyday stuff taken care of? You've got your actual survival taken care of. It translates as a solidification of self. That's Perek Aleph. That's our lower side. Okay, then the Rebbe introduced the Nefesh Elokis. That's Perek Beis, and that's the part that makes us Jewish. That doesn't have any fear of death because it's infinite. It's part of the Creator Mamash, so death isn't applicable to it. It's the Rabbeinu Shalom. There's levels to it. We spoke to it. There's madrigas, etc. But the essence of it is Hashem Himself. And then we spoke in Perek Gimel about how the soul. We spoke about the godly soul, but it's the same as the animal soul. Is not just an amorphous cloud of ruchnius. It's a very structured entity. It has an intellect, it has emotions, and that leads us to Perek Daled, which is where we talk about its garments. It has clothes. So if you really want to think of it in like anthropomorphic terms, the soul has a head. We call that its seichel. It has a body. We call that its midas, its emotions. And it has garments, clothes. We call that behavior. And it also has a soul as well. The soul has a soul. So a soul has a soul. It has a body, so to speak. It has and it has behavior. Shalom Yechil, nice to see you. And that's what Perek Daled is all about. It's about behavior. Okay, let's jump in. Perek Daled. Oid yesh l'kol nefesh l'kis. It's on. It's Perek Daled. You'll find page. V'oid yesh l'kol nefesh l'kis shlosh levushim. There's also to the nefesh l'kis 3 levushim, 3 garments. Shem machshava, dibur, or maisa. Thought, speech, and action. Shel taryag mitzvahs haTorah. Very important that the garments of the godly soul are thought, speech, and action exclusively of Torah mitzvah. Why are they called garments? Why is behavior called garments?
You take them on, you put them on, you take them off.
Yeah, that's one reason. That's a more secondary. It's very important, and it depends.
It's external to you.
Yeah, that's also good. That's it. I suppose it depends in which context you're talking about them. What becomes ikka and toffel, but the most primary concept of garments is that they express who you are. So Yitz is sitting there with a back hat, a cap on backwards, and a sweater shirt. Yeah, says something about him. That teaches me about you. Okay, I'm sitting here wearing this hot thing and this white shirt. It says something about me. Okay, you go to, you watch a guy, a beach bum wears a certain garments, and a put together CEO of a company wears other certain garments. It expresses who you are.
Wouldn't it? Isn't it more better to say that it is the most external thing that you show the world? It doesn't necessarily express who you are at all. It's just that's what people see. That's your external level. That's hiding who you are. It's covering who you are.
Yes, it actually, that's a good point. The word beged is also from the Russian word boiged, which means to be a traitor. So it depends, but the goal is to be the goal is that toichoi kaboiroi, that the actual garments are meant to be expressing the person. Okay, that's the actual goal. You're right. You can wear stolen garments, you can wear false garments, you can wear fancy dress. All these ideas, you can behave in ways that are not natural to you, for good and for for better or for worse. You can do things that surprise yourself. You can say things that shock yourself. The behavior can go in any direction. But it's called garments primarily because it's meant to be it's an expression of ourselves. Specifically, the garments of the nefesh elokis, being thought, speech, and action of the mitzvahs of the Torah. That is how she expresses herself. That is her expression. Thought, speech, and action of Torah and mitzvahs. So he'll go on. That when somebody does any of the physical mitzvahs, and with speech, he is involved in the explanation of the 613 mitzvahs and their details. And in his garment of thought, he grasps, not just is involved in, is not just reading, so to speak, and understanding, but he actually grasps concepts that are possible to be grasped in the four levels of Torah, Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod, in any way that we're actually investing conscious thought into the Torah. When this is the case, when a Yid is doing mitzvahs, he's speaking words of Torah, or he's thinking words of Torah, thinking inyanei Torah, then the entire, so to speak, the entire being becomes enclosed in the Torah, in Hashem. That's what he says. They become enclosed in the Tag mitzvahs of Torah. So it comes out that in a sense, machshava is like a hat, because that's what covers, that's what causes the Chabad, the moichin, to become enclosed within the mitzvahs. Okay? And then the speech and action are like the actual physical garments, in a sense. They enclose the body. Okay? So the soul is divided into 613 parts. We're talking on an external level. There's obviously madrigas. So when you talk about your essence is just binary. You are. Yeah, you can't really say anything about the essence. That's just you. Then there's levels after that, and things start getting much more complicated. So now you've got your intellect and you've got your emotions. That's much more complicated. And then you've got your actual, then you've got your body as well, that breaks down into endless pieces and parts and stuff. So when we're talking about the 613 parts of the soul, we're talking about an external level. But as we're involved in thinking words of Torah, speaking words of Torah, and doing mitzvahs, the soul becomes enclosed in the mitzvahs of the Torah. Okay? It's such an important idea. We could talk about this for so long, that there would be there would be no point of contact with Ribbono Shel Olam without his Ratzon. If the Ribbono Shel Olam didn't, so to speak, create his own Ratzon, and he didn't want something, then what would you do? How would you interact with that? There would be no way of interacting with that. That would be like an idol. That would be like just a monolithic stone statue. What could you do? So Hashem created, so to speak, his Ratzon. Call that Ratzon Hashem. Ratzon Hashem is the mitzvahs. That's the mitzvahs. So that's called clothing, meaning he's created something that he wants. Now, when I do what he wants, I become enclothed in that Ratzon, and him and his Ratzon are one. So actually becoming clothed in the Ribbono Shel Olam himself. That's the idea of it. For example, we always give this example. If your father told you that he wants to see you dancing. See, I used to say that he wants you to go to the shop to pick up a newspaper, but then he doesn't want you to go to the shop to pick up the newspaper. He just wants the newspaper. That's a different idea. Okay, we'll talk about that another time. But when your father wants to see you dance, meaning that you're what it's about, yeah? That's what he wants. That would be called his garment. He has a garment of action, okay, which is to see you dance. That's what he wants. Now, when you dance, you become enclosed within his Ratzon. Everyone with me? Your father wants you to dance. So Ratzon Abba is for you to dance. That's an act. He wants that action. That's his garment of action. You don't want to dance. You don't care about dancing. He wants you to dance. That's his garment. So when you dance, you're becoming enclosed within his garment, which is him. He and his garments are one. Him and his Ratzon are one. So we'll talk about that more. We've still got a long way to go. Okay, Ubefratis. Let's get into the details. Bechinas Chabad, the idea of the moichin, which is the seichel, the intellect, shebenafshoi of the nefesh lakis, melubeshes behasagas haTorah, it becomes enclosed in the concepts of understanding the Torah, according to wherever it's fitting, because every soul has got a natir, has a natir, a proclivity to either pshat, rems, or josh aside, wherever the soul comes from. So that person, we have a chiyuv to learn the whole Torah, pshat, remes, josh, and side. But we have certain neshamas who are more noiter to pshat, and we have some neshamas that are more noiter to side. Yeah, so they're obviously going to be gravitating to those areas of the Torah, but we still have a chiyuv to learn the entire Torah. That when the neshama learns the Torah and understands the Torah, the moichin of the neshama becoming clothed in the mitzvah. Okay, the hamidas, the emotions, shame year of yava, v'amfeihem, until the sehem, and the emotions which are fear and love. Why does he say fear before love? Because fear comes before love. Yira comes before love. You need to have respect for your wife before you can love your wife. If you don't have respect for your wife, then your love is not love. Simple as that. Respect has to come first. The appreciation of the reality of the other, which means that you hold back. They exist, so I will give you your space. That's called yira. That's respect. Yeah, in a human relationship, we call that respect. So that comes first. Then ava, which is the doing for the other. Yeah, and all of their things, and all of their derivatives. Melubashos b'kiyam mitzvahs b'maisa ubedibur. That when we're involved in the mitzvahs of the physical mitzvahs and mitzvahs of speech, yeah, that then the midas of the nefesh elokis become enclosed within the mitzvah. Okay, again, I know we're a little bit vague right now, but we'll get it clearer as well. Because love is the root of all of the 248 mitzvahs asay. Meaning, why do you do something for your wife? Why do you do something positive for your wife? It's motivated by love. Love is what motivates positive action. So when it comes to our mitzvah observance, our divine service, the positive mitzvahs are animated, are motivated by our love for God. Okay? And without that love, there's no true kiyum. Ki hamakayim and be'emes, who are oives Hashem es shem Hashem, v'chavez ledabka boy be'emes. Because somebody who's doing the mitzvahs be'emes, he is one who loves Hashem and is desirous to be dovek in him be'emes. Because love is a desire to come close. How do you come closer to someone? You don't actually come closer to them by not doing what they want, not doing what they don't want you to do. That doesn't draw you closer. That prevents you from drifting further. Just by not cheating on your wife, that doesn't get you closer to your wife. That would just destroy the person's relationship if he did that. So that preserves the relationship. How do you come closer to your wife? That's through the mitzvahs asay. That's through positive acts. So too with our relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom, all the isurim preserve the relationship, like salt. That's because salt is mitzad gevura, and salt preserves. Yeah. Whereas the mitzvahs asay are being motivated by our love for Hashem, the fact that we want to come close to Him. That's what's motivating our the positive mitzvahs. And as we said before, love is a movement towards, and fear is a movement away. And it is impossible to be davik in Hashem. Davik, and remember, davik doesn't mean this funny kind of, davik means attached, like your hand is attached to your arm. Yeah, it doesn't mean. It could come with feelings and experience, but it could also not come with experience. It means to be merged with, to be attached to. Love dafka does it have to do with your eyes closed and your pears flipping around and stuff like that. The only way of becoming attached to Hashem is through the Ramach mitzvahs asay, through the 248 positive mitzvahs. So I'm sure you've all heard before somebody say to you, listen, I'll serve Hashem in the way that I want to serve Hashem. You serve him the way you want to serve him, I'll serve him the way I want to serve. You realize the absolute ridiculousness of that statement. That would be analogous to your waiter coming up to you in hats. I know enough about LA now to reel off some of the restaurants. So the waiter comes up to you and you order your meal, and then she comes back with a completely different order. You know, what are you doing? She says to you, listen, I'm going to serve you the way I want to serve you. Service dafka means that you're doing the ratzon of the other. That's what service is. Otherwise, it's not service. So the only service there is, this is so important. This, if you just come to the world just to hear this one thing, this is it, is that the mitzvahs asay are what Hashem wants. If it's not connected to the Ramach mitzvahs asay, to the 248 mitzvahs asay, yeah, it's not bringing you closer to Hashem. A very important thing. So all the drugs that we smoke, all the drugs that whatever we do, yeah, if they're not actually a mitzvah or a hachona, some kind of preparation for the mitzvah, or a chelik of the mitzvah, and they make you feel close to Hashem, yeah, that's called dimyon nishaf. Oh, who's on? Can we mute? I'm gonna mute everyone. Sorry. That the no matter if we're doing drugs and we feel close to Hashem, but those drugs aren't connected in any way to mitzvah, then we're not coming close to Hashem. That's not called coming close to Hashem. No matter how close you feel to Him, yeah, that's not called coming close to Hashem. The only coming close to Hashem is mitzvahs. And it could be that you do a mitzvah and you don't feel anything, and you still came close to Hashem. They're beyond experience. Mitzvahs are well beyond experience. We can pekudim shehem ramach ivrin demalka, which are called, the mitzvahs are called the 248 limbs of the king. I'm not going to get into this right now, but that's because it's an external manifestation of who he is. Kivyochel, as if you could say. As we'll explain later in Perek 23, he explains that. The Yira, so that's Ava, is wanting to come close to Hashem. The Hayira, who shows the Shasa Loisase, Ki Yar Limroid B'melech Malchem Rachem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Yira is the motivating force that stops us from doing the 365 negative prohibitions. Yeah. Because you are scared of rebelling against the king of kings, Kodesh Baruch Hu. So let me just finish this last bit, and let's say it here. So in a relationship, we've got two aspects. We've got the love and we've got the fear. Okay, love, let's put it into the context of our wives. If we're married, that love is the emotion that motivates our positive actions that draw us close. Fear or respect is the energy that allows us, or that motivates or energizes our ability to resist doing things that would damage the relationship. So just in our human relationship with our wives, with anyone, yeah, it's the love that builds the relationship, and it's the fear that preserves the relationship. So too, or we should say it's like that with our relationship with God, so too with all the other relationships. But in this context, so too with our relationship with Rebbeinu Shloim, we have the love of the Nefesh Elokis that motivates the mitzvahs asay, and we have the fear or the respect or the awe, whatever you want to call it, that is what motivates and energizes our ability to say no to things that are not in accordance with the Ratzon Hashem. And he goes weiter, or year pnimius mezu. There's a deeper fear from just fearing to rebel. By the way, you should know the Alter Rebbe does not talk in this sefer. He does not talk about Yiras Oynesh at all. Fear of punishment. That does not come into the equation. He speaks about lower fear and a higher fear, but he does not speak about fear of punishment. That's a different thing. Fear of punishment, according to the Tanya, is not Yiras Shamayim. Fear of punishment is a fear of pain, which would exist in context of anything. You're scared of messing with a donkey because it might kick you. That would be the fear of punishment. So that's not a Yiras Shamayim. That's actually a fear of self, a fear of pain. Yeah, Yiras Shamayim means you actually have an awe of the Creator. Okay, and in varying degrees. So we said the lowest level of Yiras Shamayim is that you just appreciate that He exists and that He's watching you. I'm the man. It's all about me, but God is there and he's watching me, and I'll behave myself because he's watching me. That's already a madrega. That's called Yirat Tata. That's the lower level. Then what he calls Yiras Boishis, Shemis Boishis Megdulasoi, that he's embarrassed, shamed. What does that mean? So we've explained this before, is that his perception of God has gotten so intense and it's so deep and so rich that he appreciates the concept of Achdus Hashem. When we say Achdus Hashem, yeah, we say Hashem Echad. We obviously know that doesn't mean that there's just no other God. That means that all there is God. So he's come so cognizant of that, but here I am. I'm still here. That's embarrassing. There's like infinity, and then there's this little scratch called Shmuel Diamond. That's mamish embarrassing. I'm that scratch. That's what it means, Yiras Boishis. That's the highest level of Yiras Hashem, where you're almost embarrassed of the fact that you exist. What right do you have to exist? What right do I have to be here in the presence of infinite reality? What right do I, in my own little independent, egotistical mind, have to be here? That's called Yiras Boishis. So he just says it very quickly. We'll talk about that much more later on as well. And that's called a year Pneumius Mazu. Shemis Boishis Megudlasoi Limois Einech Voidoi Velasoi Sarah Ba'enav, and to do something bad in front of him, to do something what's bad in front of his eyes. This is very, very important. Kol Tovus Hashem Asher Sana. What is it that's bad in front of his eyes? Everything that is what's called a Tovus Hashem, an abomination Hashem, Asher Sana, that he hates. So we're going to discuss right now what it means, Hashem's hate. Haim Klipas v'Sitra Achra. What does Hashem hate? He hates Klipas and Sitra Achra. Asher Yinikasa Meya Adam Atachtoim. That they get their energy from man, the man in the lower realms. That means us. And they really take their hold from the 365 negative prohibitions. Meaning when we're over on any of the 365 Isurei D'Oraisa, and he's going to say D'Rabbanan as well, the Klipa and Sitra Achra are able to siphon off energy and to get a little bit stronger. So we need to understand a bunch of terms now. This will take us probably to the end of the class. What's Klipa and Sitra Achra? And what does it mean that Hashem hates? So Hashem's hate is not like our hate. We hate so-and-so because he's an idiot. Or we hate so-and-so because he did something unpleasant to us. I don't know. Hashem's hatred is in context. It's a relative hate. So the great example is like this: a man marries a woman for her money. He really wants the money, but the only way of getting the money is by marrying this woman. So in context of God, it would be called that this man hates the woman, even if he actually quite likes her. That would be called hate. Relative to his love for the money, she is hated. So what does it mean that Hashem hates Klipa and Sitra Achra? Klipa and Sitra Achra is there for one reason, which is to give us Bechira. Now it's interesting because it's the way that I just said that was, I didn't mean to say it so cleverly, but thinking about it now, it was a clever way of saying it. That he loves it for a reason. That already makes it Klipa and Sitra Achra. That's called an Ava Talui B'dava, a love that is dependent on something. If there's a reason why you love it, then really you love the reason. So what's the reason that he married her? For the money. So he loves the money, and she is hated. So the reason for Sitra Achra is for Bechira, that we should have Bechira, we should have an alternative to choose something other than the Ribono Shel Olam. So he loves that, the fact that we can choose him. So the Klipa and Sitra Achra is hated. And that's the same with oh, what up my head? What was I gonna say? What was I gonna say? Okay, so the idea of Hashem hating is, like we said, a relative hate. When we have a reason to love, so what's the reason that he loves Am Yisrael?
There is
We're
no
the
reason.
end. We're the end goal.
Exactly. We are the reason. That's called Kedusha. Something that is wanted for its own sake. Like, why do we have children? Why do we have children? What's the reason we have children?
Hashem told us to.
I mean, lots of people also have children. Hashem didn't tell
Bring more das into the world.
what?
To bring people that have das into the world, which Hashem wants.
That's what we do with the children. But we have children.
Emulate.
There's no reason why
Maybe-
there's no reason why we get married. These are ends unto themselves. Having children is an end. Being married is an end. See, we make such a mistake thinking that marriage, we're trying to get something out of marriage. I want to actualize myself. The marriage is the end. The point of marriage is marriage. That's what it's about. It's about the marriage. It's not about me getting something from the marriage. It's about me giving to the marriage, because the marriage is the end. Same with the children. That's the whole concept of klipa. The minute something becomes a means to an end, it's called klipa and sitra achra. And in truth, according to the lexicon of the Tanya, you hate it. If you're married to your wife because you want something from her, and it doesn't have to be something like so grubby as, physicality or money. It could be I want love, or I want to actualize myself. I want to become the man I can, I know that I can become. Yeah. She is on a very conceptual level has become klipa and sitra achra in your life. She's become a means to an end, and that's what Hashem hates.
So how would you change that?
How would you change? How would you be involved in a relationship with your wife as an end unto itself?
Yeah, let's say that you originally you got married because you wanted something from her.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And now you realize that you want to raise it to another level. How do you now change the ikr of why you married her to that level, to be that level in it, to be the end instead of the means?
So that's based primarily on learning. Primarily on learning the concept of what the mitzvahs are, what the mitzvah of marriage actually is, the concept of a mitzvah. And once we've got that and once we understand also what a person actually is, because a person is something, when you actually understand the person, I'll tell you, there's an interesting, one of my best friends growing up, yeah, his dad is now going through, it's not Alzheimer's, but it's something like that, basically. It's a degenerative mind thing. Yeah. Gabriel's going through the same thing as well. So what happened is that his father is going down and down and down, and his mother is dedicated to him literally 24/7. Like, my parents can't believe it, like how this woman is just absolutely dedicated to her husband, and that's because they are truly married. He's lost his intellect, he's lost his emotions, he's lost his behavior. All of the externalities of who he is are gone. There's just the person left. Now that's once we understand what a person actually is. See, I see, like Michael, you're looking like with your eyes squinted a little bit. Like that. This is a chiddush. What is a person? A person isn't an intellect. You know, we've been given an amazing raya to that in 2024. How do we know that a person isn't an intellect anymore? For sure. AI.
There's artificial, yeah.
Biduk. I sat there, I had a conversation with the AI the other day in front of my kids, and it was, we had a wonderful, lovely conversation. Hooray, that's not the person. The person isn't the intellect. And if the person isn't the intellect, for sure the person isn't the emotions. Emotions come and go, and then for sure, the person isn't their behavior. See, once we get this clear what a person is, you realize how freeing that is, the way that you can actually love your children. The lowest level is to understand that your children aren't their behavior. That you have to do. That you're forced into doing just to maintain sanity. You have to remember that your kids are not their behavior. Because if your kids are their behavior, then there's no, we're all in trouble. Yeah, so we're forced to create a separation between our children and their behavior. But as we learn deeper into Hasidus, we'll realize that our children aren't even their emotions. And as we learn deeper into Hasidus, we'll understand that our children aren't even their intellect. And as we go deeper into Hasidus, we'll actually get to the core of who the child is. And there's nothing to say about that. That's the person. There's nothing to talk about that. It just is. Once we get this very, very clear, then it makes then the relationship starts to actually, then the relationship we can have with our wives can start to be the relationship that we're talking about here, not dependent. Kozman, we're caught up in intellect, emotions, or behavior. That's called an avatalui bedava. That's a love that is dependent on something. And that's the beginning, that you have to get to it through that. Okay, but we have to, the goal is to get to marriage, means number one, to appreciate the mitzvah of marriage is the goal. And what's the hiddah of the mitzvah of marriage? How we makayim the mitzvah of marriage once we actually get married. The hiddah of the mitzvah is not really right to say the hiddah because it's more than that. But you could say it like that. What's the hiddah of the mitzvah of Ksubah and of Nisuin?
You give her.
What?
To be in a constant state of giving, of what can I do for the other?
We call that shalom bayis.
Tikkun Amidos.
Shalom bayis is the hidden mitzvah of marriage.
Not ceasefire.
Kedushin, what?
Not ceasefire.
Yeah, not ceasefire. Ceasefire is just necessary. Although sometimes shalom bayis thrives without a ceasefire. Sometimes a ceasefire can be terrible. Sometimes when a person is bound up in themselves and they're in marriage for themselves, and let's say the guy's a good guy, but it's all about being a good husband. It's not about the wife. We've spoken about this so much. So the he's doing everything right. You look on paper, it looks like the perfect marriage. The guy never says anything wrong. He gives the compliment when he needs to give the compliment. He puts his dirty socks in the laundry basket. He pays the mortgage. He's nice to the kids. But it's all about him being the best husband. So the wife feels utterly alone because she's just a means to an end. Because without her, he wouldn't be able to be the best husband. She's just allowing him to be the best husband. It's not about her. You hear that?
So what's the solution? He has to take himself out of the picture completely?
Look, we have to learn these books. You have to learn Tanya. You have to mamash. I don't know another way. I really don't know another way. And I'm not a Lubavitcher. I'm not like banging people on the head with this book. I just don't know another way that just explains it. And even this book doesn't explain it clearly. It's the Messiah, it's having a Rebbe who understands these ideas, giving them over, that gives you access into these ideas. The book itself was very closed. The book itself is a very closed book. But the point is that we can, if we can start appreciating what a person actually is, yeah, and start appreciating what in context of our wife, and start peeling away through the intellect and through the emotions, and you know, it comes out when your wife's annoying, yeah, and everyone has this problem, their wife can be annoying, yeah. This is the perfect opportunity to break through these outer layers of the person and attach yourself to the person, because the person isn't annoying. Her way of thinking is annoying. Her emotions are annoying. She's not annoying. She just is. You can't say anything about that. That's perfect. That's not annoying. So it's in those states, and it's, I'll tell you, just as another very important point with chinuch, yeah, when everyone has that difficult child, yeah, some people have more than one, some people only have difficult children, but when you got that one difficult child, let's just say, yeah, who's really pushing you to love them. To love them is really difficult, yeah. They're obnoxious, they're rude, yeah. And then you've got these other angelic children. Let's just say, let's paint the scenario. So, Kozman, your children are very well behaved. They don't know that your love is not dependent on something, because they're really well behaved. Why wouldn't you love them? They're lovely, good kids, and they're doing the right thing. So you love them, just like you'd love your next door neighbor's children if they were also really nice. So how do they know that your love for them is not dependent on something? It's through your relationship with that difficult child. That shows them, that proves to them that your love for them is also true. Because if you're loving this kid who's unlovable, and the word love is not the right word, but if you're with the kid, if you're the love and the higher level of love, let's just talk about the high. It's complicated. There's two levels of love, but let's just say love for just to make it easy right now. Yeah, that if you can maintain love for this child who is not being lovable, then everybody else in the family realizes that your love for them is not dependent on anything. And that was the difference, as we've said many times, that was the difference between Hashem's relationship with Noach and Hashem's relationship with Abraham. Because Hashem says to Noach, when the Torah introduces Noach, it says, Ish Elokim, Mishalech Hashem, Tzadik B'Doira. It gives three big shvachim of Noach. Abraham, it just says, Lech Lecha. Go for yourself. Go to yourself. Because the relationship of the Umoisa Olam with the Rebbeinu Shalom is an Ava Talui B'Dava, meaning that when they behave correctly, they are loved. The relationship of Am Yisrael with the Rebbeinu Shalom is a love which calls an Ava Atzmusis, a essential love that is a love of the being, not of the external layers to the being. You with me? So just in response to your question with Michael, is that learning these ideas, and they're so foreign to so many people that basically everyone I talk to, these ideas are so foreign to, and the minute we start talking about them, they resonate so deeply with everyone because they're such true ideas, is once we start understanding the concept of a person, now we can start actually loving the person as opposed to the things about the person. And it flips on its head, because it becomes that when a person has got unlovable traits or is more difficult to love, then you can really attach yourself to the person much more easily, because you're not distracted by the fanfare of their praiseworthiness, of their attractiveness, etc. That's why it's difficult for very attractive people to have relationships, deep relationships with each other, because it's so difficult to not get caught up in the beauty of the person and to go to the person. That's the same with intellect. That's the same with humor. That's the same with kind nature. With all of these things, they can actually be distractions to the person. In most cases, they are distractions to the person. They need to be conduits to get to the person, not a distraction from the person. So Kol Zman, we don't even know that there's a person there. We've never learned this idea of the binary nature of the actual existence of the person. Then all there is the traits, and all there is the kindness, and all there is the behaviors. But once we realize that there's a yichud underneath all of that, that's the actual person themselves, now we've got a real opportunity to actually have a relationship with them as opposed to a relationship with me. It's just like, it's difficult to say this, but it's just like this. If a man loves his wife for her money, yeah, that's like him saying, I love pizza. He doesn't love pizza. He loves the taste that pizza, he loves the experience that pizza gives him. So when a man marries his wife for her money, yeah, then that's obviously the same thing. But what about when a man marries his wife for her midas? She's got good midas. Is that different?
Similar
It's
thing.
the same thing.
On the ultimate level, it's the same thing. Yes. We are going through the midas to the person. The kindness, her kindness is a lovely midah, it's a wonderful midah. But we want to go through the kindness to the person. We can enjoy the midah, just like we can enjoy our wife's beauty, or we can even enjoy our wife's money. There's nothing, a man marries a woman who's rich. Yeah, so great. He's like, okay, now he gets to drive a nice car. You can enjoy her money. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not what it's about. The money is a means to her. That's a way through to her as opposed to a distraction from her.
So how do we find the person?
The person, exactly, this is the whole point, is the person is underneath. The person is there's no, finding the person means not getting distracted by all these concentric layers. You can't actually, the person's there. There's no kind of finding the person. There's just, it's like Bris Milah. The whole mosh is Bris Milah, is you remove the klipa. That's exactly the avodah of the yid, is to remove all of the nourishkeit, all of the wrong ideas about Hashem. You can't say anything about Hashem in the same way you can't really say anything about your wife. There's the fact that your wife exists, her existence, the essence of who she is. And when we're talking about the Rebbeinu Shalom, from our perspective, there isn't that much difference. Everything's nichlar in Hashem's existence, but you can't say anything about your wife, the essence of your wife. It's too holy for that. It's too real. So we're trying to move these concentric, to not get deluded by them. Again, you can enjoy them. Yeah, but they're meant to be meant to allow us to attach ourselves to the person. And that's really what marriage is. So we got a little bit sidetracked, but I think that was worth talking about. So just to finish quickly, just to say this very quickly, is that Hashem hates klipa and sitra achra because it's a means to an end. He doesn't want it for its own right. When a human being is involved in any of the 613 negative commandments, there is an energy that was meant to be received that ends up getting siphoned off and giving chizuk to the klipa and sitra achra. And the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't like that. Okay, any questions? It's probably a lot of questions.
Can you just
Sure.
repeat that? Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
can you just repeat your ending, your close to this year? What was the close again?
The close, I really went, it was very different to everything else we've been saying. It was just to actually translate the last words of where we just left off, is that when we do the 360, when any yid does any of the 365 prohibitions, mitzvahs lo saseh, it gives energy to the klipa and sitra achra. And Hashem hates klipa and sitra achra. It's a side point. It's just in the text.
Okay.
It was
Thank you.
Yeah.
The share was great, and I really enjoy that one line about that. It's really just the opposite of what we think. Where I mean, I was relating to a child where when they are acting up, it's at that point where you can actually get to their essence and actually put that to the side. It's so much harder when a child is acting great to get to their essence because you want to enjoy that.
Yeah.
So that's great. So when I see a child acting up, it's an opportunity now to get to their essence. So thank you for that. I never
Add something very, very important here. This is very important, is that when you practice on the difficult situation, when you practice loving your children through the behavior, in spite of the behavior, yeah, then you actually become able to love them, love everyone, no matter how good they are. You actually start getting attached to the person, just like if you can, it's very difficult to not be affected by praise or criticism. But it doesn't make sense to try and work on not being affected by praise, because praise makes you feel good. But criticism makes you feel lousy. So you've got a good reason to work on not having criticism affect you. Let it go off your shoulders. Don't take it personally, whatever techniques you use. But if you work strong enough on not allowing criticism to affect you, not because you're like closing yourself off, but because you're taking it in context. Like, they can't ruin my day. They can't, this person's bad thoughts about me. If I have to fix something, I have to fix something, but I'm not going to allow that to destroy my mind. That actually allows you to start taking praise correctly as well. It's practice for the praise. If you work on not being affected by the criticism, it will allow you to not be affected by the praise. They're the same, they're two sides of the same coin. So too, when you work on loving your child in spite of their bad behavior, you will actually end up loving your well-behaved children on a much, much deeper level. It's a segula. It's a segula. Okay, I have to run now, so I have to catch my roof. Everyone should be good bench, but
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Colton.